I'll continue this now. This is it's got two names. It's either the Black Rock Redemption or All Is New Black Rock. Science fiction, fantasy, dream, mystery novel that I wrote and published on Amazon's Kindle. It's an ebook, so even though this is like a rough draft, I'll be improving it as the months go by. So if you want to buy an original, buy it now before it's changed. I'll continue. Okay. Realizing there was no water realizing there was no water to, I'll say do instead of for, to do voodoo, where he'd be washing his face, hands, feet, and nose out, the latter to remove a sleeping Satan from his nose, just in case Satan was sleeping in it due to the fact that it was night somewhere in the world. And for that I put this video link here. Mr. Rahman remembered that the Quran said that if there was no water for ablution, one could use clean soil, according to Quran 4:43. Mr. Rahman didn't know exactly what clean soil was, but being a very pious Muslim, not familiar with what to do with clean soil, he scanned his memory to find out what an imam might have told him. None had told him how to wash with clean soil. Actually, the Quran calls it high clean soil. High clean soil, that's what and there's a high in there. I've seen some Quran say it. I've heard clean soil, high clean soil. Yeah. So anyway, none of them told him how to wash with clean soil. Rahman remembered in a Pixel English translation of the Quran that said in in Surah 4, verse 43, quote, "And if ye be ill, or on a journey, or one of you cometh from the closet, or ye have touched women, and ye find not water, then go to high clean soil, and rub your faces and your hands therewith. Lo, Allah is benign, forgiving." Since there was no water, Mr. Rahman thought that maybe the dust he'd use on the side of the road would magically turn into, quote, high clean soil, becoming a cleaning agent when an angel would see him washing with it. Thus, he rolled out his prayer rug, looked at the compass to best face Mecca, and started washing with high clean soil, like the Quran commanded, if there was no water present for ablution to make one clean for salat, the Muslim prayer. After rubbing the desert dust and pebbles with his hands, he began to rub his face with it. Rahman knew it sounded crazy, but since he really wasn't quite familiar with that scripture, he then put the dirt and dust behind his ears and in his hair, doing it 3 times if it were water. Dust was flying everywhere as he performed the tayammum, as he believed it was called when there was no water and one used high clean soil. When it came to snorting the dirt up his nose, he paused and thought, how is this going to get Satan out of my nose? Maybe Allah will say be and turn it into water so it nearly drowns Satan, making him come out. Muhammad, may Allah pray on him, give him blessing, said it has to be 3 washings to get Satan out due to his sleeping in the upper interior of our noses at night. And again, somewhere in the world, it is night. Mr. Rahman picked up a handful of dust and thought, maybe I snort it as if I am snorting cocaine, like Al Pacino in the movie Scarface. Mr. Rockman at his... Hey, yeah. Mr. Rockman looked at the car that was 20 feet from him. The dog he kidnapped was looking at him through the windshield as if it were perplexed at what he was doing. Suddenly Mr. Rockman heard a vehicle coming in the distance. Trying to build up his courage, he thought of the scene in Scarface where Al Pacino's drug lord character had a desk covered with cocaine. But this is not cocaine. This is clean soil, I think. This is clean soil, I think. Yeah, but this is not cocaine. This is clean soil, I think. To make him more accepting of snorting dust up his nose, Mr. Rockman thought back to the time when he was at the Sacramento Zoo as a small boy feeding peanuts to one of the zoo's elephants through the chain-link fence. He remembered how the elephant he was feeding peanuts to sucked his small arm up into its nose, happening so fast it didn't give him time to be shocked or frightened, only grossed out when he quickly suddenly found what seemed to be a sock of mucus and dust covering his arm when the elephant used the young Rockman's arm as a type of elephant trunk pipe cleaner. As Mr. Rockman thought back to the time thought back to the time when he then so desperately looked for a restroom to wash off the snot sock the elephant fitted for him onto his arm in such a quick fashion, he also remembered that snorting up dust into the nose of an elephant is very common and it doesn't seem to hurt the elephant at all. And if not, why should the snorting of dust up his own nose hurt him either? Here goes nothing, Mr. Rockman said with a gulp. He then said, "Okay, Satan, slipping in my nose, say a lot to my little widow dust." In his haste to beat the car, Mr. Rockman grabbed up another handful of dirt as well, since one was to wash one's nose out 3 times for ablution. Mr. Rockman began snorting the dust into his nose as if it were cocaine. But this is not cocaine. This is clean soil, I think. To make him more accepting of snorting dust up his nose, Mr. Rockman thought back to the time when he was at... excuse me. That's already been said. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And he sleeps... Yeah, say a lot to my little widow dust. In his... Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Instantly, Mr. Rockman started coughing. He then started wheezing as he felt his lungs burn from an acrid, stinging, bizarre smell he never smelled before. "This must not be the way to do widow. It is clean soil," he coughed and choked out. Mr. Rockman started freaking out when he felt something moving about in his nasal passages. Since he was wearing his glasses, he accidentally snorted up an ant into his nose along with the dust. Mr. Rockman ran about on the road screaming and pleading with Allah to remove whatever it was that was moving about in his head. "I have awakened Satan! I have awakened Satan!" Mr. Rockman shouted. Seeing the light, the thing revealed what it was when it crawled out of Mr. Rockman's nostril. It wasn't Satan, but an ant. Well, I gotta stop it here.